Chapter 1. Found. Is it one of ours? A guttural voice cracked the air. Unlikely, a second demon answered. Its pewter-tinted arms moved towards the man bobbing in the waves. The setting sun reflected in the water. There aren't any of our markings on it, and the smell— two large nostrils expanded to draw in more air— is from them. On a remote beach near the coastal city of Joppa, an angel named Themriel watches two small demons inspect a limp body floating in the Mediterranean Sea. One of them resembled a jackal with black leathery skin, while the other had the appearance of a sickly green reptile with nearly half of its face torn off. From their size and wing structure, Themriel recognized them as being at the lower two rungs of demonic ranks. The first a tempter, and the other a harassing spirit. He invoked his shield's power of cloaking and moved closer. "Did you hear something?" the first demon asked. The second one snarled, "No, but if I did, I would not act like a scared child, Squiff." Both sets of demonic eyes, reddish with an ethereal glow, scanned the surrounding area like startled prey. Could they sense my presence? Themriel wondered. He put his right hand on the hilt of the lethal sword hanging from a golden belt girded around his waist. The angel pondered whether he should eliminate them before they could report to the closest demonic prince. If the local demonic prince found out about this man, more deadly demons would be sent. The deluge of demons would make his mission more complicated than it needed to be. Then a question crept to the forefront of his thoughts. What if the closest principality had sent them to investigate? Their absence would also cause more demons to be sent here to investigate. He needed to trust his commander's direction, so Themriel removed his hand from the hilt of his weapon and watched as they resumed their inspection. Michael, the Archangel of Israel and his commander, had sent him to investigate a falling star. The trajectory and brightness indicated a possible desertion from the angelic hosts, a fallen angel. There was no information about who may have deserted or why it happened, but Themriel did not take the news of a possible fallen angel passively. When an angel of the Lord fell from grace, he or she deserved a fate worse than death. They deserved to be cast into the bottomless pit. And Themriel would gladly deliver their fate after thrusting his sword into their chest. "I am not newly spewed from the womb, Heresy. I thought I sensed an angel nearby," Squiff barked. "Of course you did." Heresy pointed at the body bobbing in the waves. "Does it live?" "Not sure." Squiff's spindly fingers moved closer to the floating body, poking it in various spots, as Heresy watched for any hint of reaction. The man's two limp arms were streaked with black, as if they had been burned. Heresy observed, "The light trails we saw earlier led right to this beach. By the burn marks on his arms, we can surmise he has fallen from heaven. Our master's claim on him needs to be secured." As if in response, the man twitched. It seemed he would awaken any minute. At first, a slight glow emanated from the man's head and shoulders. Then the light brightened. "He is from heaven. He has the celestial aura. Look." Heresy motioned to the head of the floating man. "He must be waking. We need to get a message to Desicrus before that happens," Squiff said. "Too bad his lordliness is not still in Joppa. I could be there and back quickly. But with Garaboth's project being moved, Desicrus was forced to move most of his operations back to Ashdod," Heresy said, as laughter came up through his throat. "I can guarantee he is not happy being uprooted." Squiff stopped examining the unconscious man and looked at Heresy. "What do you think Garaboth is working on? I have never heard of so many resources being devoted to his arcane projects before this." Heresy shook his head. "Me neither. I don't know what it could be, but—" Off in the distance behind Themriel, a man's voice bellowed. He looked around at the cliffs to determine where the voice came from. Animal bleats and neighs joined the sound of people loading and packing items, which clanked and clapped, echoing over the cliffs in a cacophony. Both demons whipped around and looked in the direction from which the sounds came. The one called Squiff spoke. "It sounds like they are getting ready to leave. Let's try to contact Desicrus." The two garish creatures each grabbed a star-shaped amulet adorning their necks. They spoke in guttural tones until the pendants began glowing with an amber hue. The pointy shapes transmitted a low hum, as if they were broadcasting an alert to someone who was not present. "I cannot make contact with Desicrus," Heresy stated. Squiff shook his head. "Neither can I." Heresy stammered, "We need to alert someone in power, or there will be hell to pay." "You heard the governor's contingent stirring. We must return to our assignment," Squiff stated. "Our orders are to remain with Pilot. We'll try later. Maybe these cliffs are blocking us." Squiff's wings were pulsing with energy as the hell spawn began to hover above the water. Then Squiff started pulling the body closer to shore, his wings flapping horizontally with rapid, powerful thrusts. "What are you doing?" Heresy growled. "We should hide this one. All signs say he has fallen, and if our enemies find him before we alert Desicrus, our fate will be worse than his." Squiff motioned at the man in the waves. Heresy swooped down and began to pull too, but with their small stature, they could not move the body very far. "This isn't working." "Leave him. Perhaps floating in the sea will delay his awakening. We must get back to Pilot before his caravan leaves," Squiff said. "I am in no hurry to meet your former master. Desicrus is not going to react well to our delay in informing him." Heresy looked around. His tone belied a heightened sense of fear. "You are more of a coward than I am. We will only have an issue if he believes there has been a delay," Squiff barked. "Are the stories regarding Lord Desicrus's reputation true?" Heresy asked. The demon nodded. "If you heard he is a ruthless climber who has vanquished many to reach his position, then you heard correctly. Desicrus is a pure climber and demonic assassin." His partner looked up at the precipice from which the sounds of the convoy came. "We cannot tarry any longer. We must see how close they are to leaving." Themriel watched the two demons fly towards the cliff. He turned back to observe the male suspended in the waves and tightened the grip on his sword. The demons were correct in their assessment of the man's nature. He was a fallen angel. There was no reasonable explanation for why he continued to glow, since he had fallen from the angelic ranks. But that didn't matter. One quick stroke of his mighty weapon, and Themriel would deliver righteous judgment on this wretch. Then, as Themriel contemplated the consequences of disobeying Michael's orders, which were to investigate the fallen star and report back, a riptide pulled the man further into the ocean. He used telepathy to convey his observations to Michael. "This is Themriel with a report from the beaches of Joppa." As he waited for Michael to respond, a sense of frustration built up in his chest. Why did he not have the discretion to deal with this situation? Suddenly, Michael's inner voice came through. "What have you observed?" Themriel answered, "The falling star we observed this afternoon is indeed from a fallen angel. Do we have a report on who is missing from our ranks?" A long pause filled the space between him and his commander. "I have not been given the name of who is missing from our ranks. You are to watch over him until he awakens, but do not raise your hand against him, nor question him. I will inquire of God for more information." Michael's voice echoed in Themriel's mind for a couple of seconds. Then he was alone, on the beach, looking over an unconscious traitor. The two demons flew up the side of a cliff. They crested the rock face to see Pilot's procession prepare for the next stage of its journey. A sense of relief came over Squiff when he saw Pilot's entourage moving slowly. It would be a while before they were prepared to leave. Squiff stopped and turned. "We have time to make another attempt at reaching Desicrus about the fallen angel." Heresy landed just below Squiff. "Very well. This time we will need a blood sacrifice to amplify our signal." He clutched the star-shaped pendant dangling on his marred neck. His grip tightened around the 5 sharp points of the amulet until thick, black liquid covered his hand. "I beseech the Lord of Ashdod, hear my request." After a brief period of unnerving quiet, a concussive voice came from the amulet. "Why do you speak to me when I have not requested it?" After a long gulp, Heresy responded, "My Lord Desicrus, I am Heresy, along with Squiff from the Judean ranks in Jerusalem. We..." I care not for your names. Why do you deem it necessary to interrupt my day? Desicrus's voice boomed. Squiff, who had moved closer to Heresy, spoke, We have been assigned to harass Pontius Pilate as he leaves Judea. He was supposed to embark from Joppa, but the ship was waylaid due to a storm. It is supposed to dock in your glorious city. A growling sound emanated from their pendants. Good to know. I will prepare a welcome party worthy of the one who killed the Jewish carpenter. Is this why you reached out to me? No. A little while ago, we saw a star fall from the sky. We investigated and determined that it has the celestial aura. It is a fallen angel, Heresy stammered. Desicrus's voice shook the amulet in Heresy's hand. You should have told me this at the outset of our interaction. Send me the location. I will dispatch my elite warriors to claim this wretch. As the sunset crested the western horizon, the wave tips glowed like a myriad of emerald-tinted sapphires, giving the Mediterranean Sea a fiery glow. A pensive man took in the splendor, but was unmoved by the majesty before him. The turmoil of ruling Judea over the past decade had torn away at his soul, leaving Pontius Pilate too little emotional depth to enjoy a simple sunset. The man held a dark piece of glass in his palm, which gave a decent reflection of himself. Every time Pilate saw his reflection, he shuddered at the heavy lines stress and fatigue had eroded into the gaunt cheeks of this once proud Roman. Obstacles and opponents lurked around every turn of this painful existence. If only he could sprout wings and rapidly take his lovely Claudia away from this forsaken place. Perhaps he would find refuge against his never-ceasing torment caused by the memories of the day he condemned Jesus to die on a cross. The former governor of Judea stood overlooking the ocean near the edge of a steep cliff when the sound of crunching rocks interrupted his contemplation. He sensed someone approaching and rotated his body to face the intruder. "My lord, permission to speak." A stout centurion stood before him with a stern demeanor. Pilate lifted his right hand and motioned for the soldier to talk. After clearing his throat, the centurion said, "I have discovered the cause of our delay. One of the pack mules had been bitten by a snake. This caused the other animals in the vicinity to become agitated to the point of frenzy. We will be back on the road in the morning." So, you are here to inform me that our latest delay was caused by a pack mule being bitten by a snake? Do you feel this is an adequate reason to have someone of my station wait? His question removed the blank expression from the soldier's face and added what looked like panic and insecurity to the centurion's mien. "No, sir. I have come to inform you the caravan is ready to leave." You already said that. Even though Pilate felt overwhelmed by his guilt and torment, he responded in a manner suitable for his station. "I cannot stay in the infernal place any longer than necessary. Which means we will leave now. I will go and awaken my wife. Once I place the order, we can begin our journey. My patience is waning, Commander, so unless we stop to appease Jupiter, there can be no more postponements. The journey from Jerusalem to Joppa has already taken twice as long as it should have. At the current rate, we will not reach Ashdod for many days. This is unacceptable. If we do not arrive in Ashdod before my ship is scheduled to leave, you will no longer enjoy the benefits of your rank." A confused look came over the centurion's face, so Pilate made things simple. "You will be demoted." Just as the centurion left his presence, Morpheus, Pilate's personal attendant, walked up to him. "Greeting, great and noble lord. I saw the centurion leave your presence and decided to inquire of you about our status. Are we finally ready to leave?" "It appears so, though I do not trust the commander's judgment when it comes to travel preparations. I want you to survey the entire procession to make sure all items and beasts are ready for the trip to Ashdod. Once you are certain of our readiness, come to my transport," Pilate commanded, then warily watched Morpheus leave. Pilate walked past the soldiers, servants, and smelly animals en route to where he and his wife had spent the last 30-plus nights, a well-appointed Carpentum. Travelling any distance further than a mile in this dusty country had proven too uncomfortable for his wife Claudia to bear. So, he commissioned the best carpenters in Judea to build him a luxurious carriage 5 times the size of a standard cart. At 10 cubits long and 5 cubits wide, its covered interior gave Pilate and Claudia ample room to hide from the elements, and the thick wooden walls made the noise from the convoy more bearable. And with its 6 sets of steel-enforced wheels, they were rarely hampered by a damaged wheel. Once he ascended the steps of the carpentum, he pulled away one side of the covering and bent down to enter the lavish cart. "My liege," the voice of the cart driver came from the other end of the cart. "We have 2 riders coming from the east." Before Pilate could respond, he heard the driver speaking to someone, but couldn't make out the words. Then his driver's head pushed through the canopy. "Lord Pilate, we have 2 messengers from Jerusalem. They bring an urgent message." Pilate, as quietly as possible so he did not wake up Claudia, navigated the clutter of his temporary home and stuck his head out of the other side. 2 soldiers, members of the Sanhedrin Guard, faced him, garbed in breastplates and gauntlets made of leather, small swords secured to black belts, and a short bow hung across their chests. They were sitting on 2 well-groomed horses, each one blowing and snorting their fatigue from what Pilate concluded to be a long, intense ride. One of the messengers handed him a scroll. Pilate took the ornately wrapped scroll and with chapped fingers broke the seal of the Sanhedrin and unrolled it. After pulling himself behind the canopy, he pulled a candle from its holder on the center post and silently read the scroll. "From Caiaphas to our beloved governor, Pontius Pilate. Greetings, Governor. I pray for your safe departure. I am sending word to you of a most urgent need. One of my own charges, Saul of Tarsus, has gone missing on the road to Damascus. The only witness to return from the trip told of Saul writhing on the ground, completely blind and uttering incoherently about the one we crucified, Jesus of Nazareth. As you know, the lies about Jesus' cheating death have been an ever-growing nuisance. I would dismiss this latest story entirely, except Saul was one of my most effective tools against the followers of Jesus. I know you are no longer in position to directly assist me. However, it would be mutually beneficial for you and I to inform your replacement of the trials we have endured in dealing with Jesus and his followers. This latest matter concerning Saul will only further incite the entire land with confusion and conflict, and things could spin into another rebellion. This would only deepen any claims your enemies in Rome have against you and may cause Caesar to pass further judgment on your house. Therefore, you need to give your successor strong encouragement to join me in this crucial fight. I pray your replacement is as enlightened to our problems as you were." See, Claudia must have awakened while he read, for she crawled closer to him, blinking away the sleep from her eyes. "What is it?" He put the candle back into its holder, briefly caressed her pearlescent face, then stuck his torso out of the canopy again. With a violent flick of his wrist, Pilate threw the scroll back at the messenger. It fell to the ground. "That infernal, pretentious Jew. He dares to ask me for help. He brought this curse on us. He needs to be the one to fix it." He glared at the messenger. "Was this all you came for? The high priest, the former high priest, sends you all this way from Jerusalem to tell me his favorite pet lion is no longer being loyal. Tell your master I am no longer required to care about the affairs of the Jews." Without a word, the 2 messengers turned their horses around and sped away in the direction of Jerusalem. Pilate turned to the driver. "Fetch me the scroll I threw." His driver fell to the ground and in an awkward sequence of moves retrieved the scroll Pilate had thrown at the messenger. "Here, my lord," he stammered while handing it to him. "I will suffer no further intrusions. When Morpheus returns, tell him to join you in front. Then get us out of here," the former governor bellowed. He pulled himself back into the carriage where Claudia's face greeted him. "What has you so stirred up?" "Read this." First, he handed her the scroll, then retrieved the candle and put it overhead so she could read the letter from Caiaphas. After a few moments, her almond eyes investigated his, and she sighed. "I warned you against listening to that wicked man. You have not slept well in over 10 years, all because of what you allowed them to do to the man from Nazareth." He couldn't bring himself to return her gaze, for he knew she was right. I must confess, when I received Caligula's correspondence relieving me of the Judean assignment, I felt a giant weight removed from my shoulders. I will miss the privileges associated with being governor, but this land, these people, are a blight on the Roman Empire. Now, we will be able to go somewhere and rest. Claudia's gentle hands touched both sides of his jawline. Their coolness and softness were the only peace he experienced since that fateful day so long ago. If he could command it, they would never leave the haven of the carriage. We are breaking camp and continuing to Ashdod. The ship should be ready when we arrive in 4 days. His throat still tightened with nervousness every time her eyes ensnared his. "Who do you think the Senate sent to accompany us?" she asked. "They cannot expect someone of your stature to leave such an important post without someone of renown to accompany you." "I have no idea, my love. I would hope the Senate would honor my years of loyal service with someone of note." He could feel her eyes attempting to lock with his, so he looked away. His misgivings could not be passed on to her. "I hope Gaul is a better place to live," she said. He nodded. "Do you think we will be in Gaul for long?" Pilate shook his head with feigned confidence. Claudia's eyes squinted tightly. She wasn't convinced, so he answered from his heart. "I only guessed Gaul as an option when I read reports from the region. I truly do not know our fate." A smile creased her pretty face. "Did Vallius ever respond to your letters?" Claudia's grin left even before he could answer, as if she sensed his response. He sighed. "None of our friends, family, or previous benefactors responded to any of my correspondence." Pontius Pilate finally made eye contact with the love of his life. A tear crossed her cheek. His thumb brushed it away. For the first time in their regal lives, the couple from Roman aristocracy embarked on a future devoid of hope and filled with the unknown. Themriel stood on the cliff near the caravan, his grey wings pulled close against his back. He watched the 2 demons circling around a large palatial carriage. They flew around it like spiraling vultures, spewing curses at whomever was inside. Once again, he reached out to Michael. "My Lord Commander, I pray you are well. Do we have any updates on the identity of the wretch in the waves?" "No, we do not. For now, you are to maintain your watch over him and ensure his safety without question. When his identity is revealed, you will be informed."